The Russian occupying army continues its offensive in Kharkiv, aiming to seize a buffer zone that would allow the Kremlin to push through a so-called territorial swap with Ukraine. What we're seeing in Kharkiv and Sumy regions reflects Russia's attempt to create a so-called precedent for territorial exchange. Military analyst Dmytro Snehiryov said, "The expert says that Ukraine, including through US diplomatic channels, has effectively been informed on the possible proposal. Moscow would pull back troops from parts of Kharkiv and Sumy regions in return for full control over Donetsk." Snehiryov stressed that such signals point to the Kremlin's attempt to steer Kiev into a negotiation track favorable for Moscow, using military pressure as a tool of political leverage. In this case, Russia has launched its third offensive on Kharkiv, reviving a campaign that has already failed twice, but now with even higher stakes and far weaker prospects. Framed by propaganda and driven by political desperation, this new push is already unraveling, exposing a strategic miscalculation at the highest levels of the Kremlin. Recently, Russia rushed to claim victory, announcing that Vovchansk was captured. But the reality on the ground tells a very different story. Russian forces sent a flag bearer on what was essentially a suicide mission. Euromaidan press media outlet says the soldier attempted to plant the Russian flag beside a ruined house, only to be eliminated instantly by precise Ukrainian fire. Desperate to fabricate the image, commanders sent a second flag bearer moments later, but he suffered the same fate. Detected by Ukrainian observers, tracked by drones, and neutralized before he could stage the symbolic gesture. The Russians wanted a triumphal photo. Instead, they produced yet another example of senseless loss. The image Putin hoped to present disintegrated, replaced by footage of fallen flag bearers lying in rubble that Russia cannot seize. Despite failing to take pictures in Vovchansk, Russian commanders still decided to report to Putin that Vovchansk had been taken, and Putin immediately amplified the claim. Euromaidan press says the timing was politically calculated, with Moscow aiming to enter the next round of US-Russia negotiations, pretending to hold a major victory in northeastern Ukraine. The attempt to raise a flag thus became not just a battlefield stunt, but a diplomatic weapon. Putin used this event to once again order the creation of a buffer zone along the border. But this initiative reflects political desperation more than military logic. With it, the latest Russian push toward Vovchansk is effectively a third attempt at launching a Kharkiv offensive, and it has already exposed itself as a strategic blunder based on the lie with the failed flag-planting operations. Despite this, following Putin's order, Russian forces resumed their assaults around Vovchansk, with deadly consequences, as Ukrainian defenses here have been fortified for more than a year. The approaches are densely mined, covered by thermal drones, FPV teams, and infantry ambushes. Ukrainian surveillance does not stop, and Russian assault units sent forward with minimal support are spotted and eliminated repeatedly. Despite losing hundreds more men, the only measurable territorial change is a slight Russian advance into the western part of the settlement south of the river, a marginal gain achieved at the price of enormous casualties. Putin's declaration of victory in Vovchansk, based on failed symbolic flag-planting attempts, is detached from battlefield facts. Euromaidan press reports. These claims serve only to pressure Ukraine before negotiations and to present Russia as advancing when, in reality, its forces have accomplished nothing effectively. The Russian leadership hopes someone in Washington will take these proclamations seriously, but the record of repeated failures speaks for itself.
The Temryuk seaport on the Sea of Azov in Russia's Krasnodar Krai was attacked. The attack resulted in a gas terminal catching fire. Local authorities confirmed the attack and damage to elements of port infrastructure. And the Russian publication ASTRA conducted an OSINT analysis of footage filmed by Russians, which allowed them to determine the exact location of the fire. The first reports of a drone attack on the Temryuk seaport in Russia's Krasnodar Krai began appearing online around midnight on December 5. In particular, the independent Russian publication ASTRA, citing reports from local residents, reported an attack on this facility at 0:29 Kiev time. Russians reported explosions in the port area. As can be seen from the video online, a fire broke out in the port after the attack. The Krasnodar Krai Emergency Response Center confirmed the attack, damage to port infrastructure, and subsequent fire. A Kiev regime drone attack damaged elements of port infrastructure in Temryuk. A fire broke out. According to the main directorate of the Ministry of Emergency Situations of Russia for the Krasnodar territory, 32 specialists and 8 pieces of equipment have been deployed to extinguish the fire. Special and emergency services are working at the scene. According to preliminary information, there are no casualties, and personnel have been evacuated, they stated. Astra analyzed footage from Temryuk and concluded that one of the videos was filmed from the Temryuk-Golyabitskaya station highway, 4 kilometers from the port. According to the publication's OSINT analysis, the gas terminal is on fire. Meanwhile, the Telegram channel Supernova Plus, based on an analysis of another video, claims that the strike hit the Maktronafta LLC terminal, which handles liquefied petroleum gas. The terminal's throughput capacity is approximately 0.3 to 0.4 million tons of LPG per year. Russian public groups reported that an explosion rocked the Grozny city high-rise building in the Chechen capital after a Ukrainian drone hit it. According to the Telegram channel Astra, the building houses the Chechen Security Council, the Accounts Chamber, and the Electoral Commission. In particular, the photographs showed damaged glazing of an entire section of the building on several floors. Chechen opposition channels also reported the strike. However, Chechen authorities have not reported any strikes. Meanwhile, Grozny Airport, as well as the airports of Beslan and Megas, are closed due to the risk of drone attacks. Telegram channels also reported that Ukrainian drones struck an oil refinery in Syzran, Samara Oblast, according to eyewitnesses. The city's mayor confirmed the attack but declined to specify the exact location. Astra and the Ukrainian Telegram channel Exile Nova Plus claim that an oil refinery was hit. The Russian Ministry of Defense reported that air defense forces shot down 41 Ukrainian drones overnight over Russian regions and Crimea. The drones were shot down over the Samara, Saratov, Volgograd, and Rostov regions, as well as the Krasnodar territory.
Ты мне говоришь, типа...
О, ебать! Ебать!